So with percentage ranking, so we go through something what's called a percentile. Now, if I were to say something along the lines of, hey, you're in the 99th percentile for height. If I say that, hey, you're in the 99th percentile for height, this is going to mean you're really, really tall. If you're in the 5th percentile for, oh, I don't know, income, you are literally $0. So we'll go into like what this all means here, but you've probably heard this before. This is usually mentioned a lot in TV shows and movies, like to show how smart someone is. Oh yeah, he's in the 99th percentile. So you see it a lot in places like that. So when we're talking about percentile, I'm just going to zoom in for a second. Percentile is a number from 1 to 99 that shows what percentage of values in a data set are lower than the given value. So what percentages of values in the data set are lower than the given value? That is the fancy way of saying that if I say that there's 99th percentile for something, it means 99% of people are below that. If you're doing 99th percentile for height, that means you're really tall. Everyone else is shorter. If it's 99th percentile for income, that means you're Elon Musk. You're one of the richest people out there. You are the 1%. If it's for intelligence, you're Einstein. You're really smart. Same thing for this 5th percentile. This means that only 5% of people would earn less than this person in this case. So just like before, it always means out of 100, right? So we use this to organize data so you can see how one value compares to others in a data set. So the percentile ranking then just indicates the percentage of values in the given data that are lower than the given number. So again, if something's said to be at the 60th percentile, that means that 60% of all the numbers in the set are below the given number. So if you are the 60th percentile for height, you are slightly taller than average. If you're 50th, hey, you're in the 50th percentile, you're dead set in that middle, right? So that's what percentile and percentile ranking is. So a percentile rank indicates where a value stands with respect to the other values in the data set. So we have a formula here. B is the number of values below the one being considered. N is the total number of values in the data set. And then this entire thing right here is our full formula. Now, I just want to take a quick look at one thing. Now, on your final, this is what you're going to be given for percentile rank. It is a different formula than what you see here. If you use, so first off, if you don't memorize this one, if you don't memorize it, they are going to give you one. They'll tell you what each of these three things are. If you use this on the final, they will still give you full marks for it. There's just two different formulas for it. I like using this one because it's simpler. If you memorize it, great. If you don't memorize it, you're just going to have to apply this in a slightly different way. And you're welcome to try out both of them as well. I'm a little bit more, I prefer this one over here. I think it's a little bit simpler, but again, this one exists. So this is our formula here that we're going to end up using for a whole bunch of things. Move out of there. So let's put this into practice. Let's put what percentile is and this formula into a little bit of practice. So if we scroll on, oh, I see I gave you guys the solution there. Lovely. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So we scroll down to this first example here. So we have players on the senior boys volleyball team, and this is all their heights. So we see all their heights on here. Now, we know we could now calculate the mean, the median, the mode of all this stuff. We should be pretty comfortable with that. But now we're going to calculate the percentile ranking. specifically of two players. One, the dude who's 172 centimeters tall, this guy right here. And then two, the guy who's 190 centimeters tall, which looks to be the tallest person on the team. So how do they compare to the other ones? Remember, percentile ranking is seeing how it compares to other people or other data points in that set. So first thing we're always going to do is we're going to write our numbers from smallest to biggest. That's already been done for you here. So just going to put that there. So now let's figure out A. So first thing we do is we organize it from smallest to biggest. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, just like before, put our formula in, right? So my formula, my PR, percentile ranking, is equal to B divided by N times 100. B divided by N times 100. So what does the B stand for again? Well, that's what the PR is. But so the first thing we always do is like we put our formula in, now we have to substitute. But what do we substitute? So what does the B represent in this case? The B represents the number of values below the one being considered. So which measurement I'm considering? I'm considering 172, right? So if I go here, how many data sets are below this?
There'll be 6 underneath this?
Yeah, it's 6. You do not include the 172. I'm just looking at what's below it. I can see that there are 6 numbers here below it, right? So that's going to be my B. So PR is equal to 6. Oops, PR. Percentile ranking. And then N stood for, any guesses? It also tells us. N is the total number of values in the data set. So how many players are on this team? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And yes, I am counting that player that we were referring to earlier. So it's 6 over 12, and the whole thing's times 100. So most of the time, you're going to need a calculator. But in this case, what's 6 divided by 12? It's going to give you a half, right? A half. 1 over 2 is 0.5, same thing. A half times 100, you're going to get 50. Specifically, the 50th percentile. So what does that actually mean? When I say, hey, he's in the 50th percentile, it's not just about being able to find the number, but we have to understand, what does that mean? So when I say that, hey, this guy's in the 50th percentile, what does that mean in plain English with him compared to the rest of the boys on his team? Well, this is what this is going to mean, is that the player who is 172 centimeters tall. So you can actually scratch that out. Scratch that out. We've already established that he's 172 centimeters tall. But what does this mean? Basically, this means that 50% of the boys on the team are shorter than 172 centimeters. And we're always going to round to the nearest whole number if we have a decimal. So we figured out that, hey, we put our formula in, we did the math. 50. What does 50 mean? It means that 50% of the boys, half of the boys on the team, are shorter than 172 centimeters. Or that he's taller than 50% of the boys. It goes both ways. So what about question B? We're still going to solve it the same way. We're still going to use our formula. Percentile ranking, PR, is equal to B divided by N. times 100. Nothing's changed there. My question for you is, what's going to be the B and what's going to be the N? We're looking at the person who's 190 centimeters right now. So think about it for a second. What's going to be the B? What's going to be the N?
So you're asking what B is?
Yeah,
It would be 11, right?
it would be 11 because there's 12 sets in the data and we do not include whichever one we're looking at. So if I go to 190 here, I can see I got 11 numbers below it. So you're right. So B in this case is going to be 11. There's still the same number of people on team, 12. And all of that is times 100. So now we'd actually probably have to use our calculator. So again, I just kind of plug it in exactly how I see it. 11 over 12 times 100. Going to give me 91.67. Now, we always round to a whole number. So what's the nearest whole number? 92. So PR is going to equal to 91.67, but we always round with percentile ranking. It's going to be 92%. So that's what that is. But again, what does that mean? If I tell you that, hey, this person's in the 92nd percentile for height on his team, what does that mean in plain English?
Tall guy.
Well, he's a tall guy. Yeah, it means so 92% of the team are shorter than 190 centimeters. That's what that means. So, was it? I'm gonna give you just a little bit here. Was it just 3 questions? 3 questions. I'm gonna give you like I don't know, like 8 or so minutes to try out those 3 questions here. Again, ask for help if you need it. We need a good understanding of this because the next example is going to be this part specifically has some easy tricks that can be done against you. So we got to make sure we have a good understanding of percentile ranking to be able to move on to the next part here. So I'll give you guys like 8 minutes here. Try out question 1, 2, and 3. Ask for help if you need it. I won't go through all of them. I'll go through 1 or 2 of them at the end. Okay, so just kind of we'll just moving on words here. I didn't have many questions, so I'm hoping we're all okay with it. But again, just as an example here, use that same formula, B over N times 100. The B is how many numbers are below your given figure. I'm looking at 80% in this case. Like I said, there's 4 numbers below it, that goes there. And there's a total of 20 data points in here, including this 80%. And then you just times it by 100 and you get what your answer is there. So I think we're okay with being able to calculate the percentile ranks. Oh, yeah, any questions?
There was one that was like right on the dot there, and I was just kind of wondering, like B. So
This one?
yeah, so because if we're counting below that, like it wouldn't be 0 over 20, right?
Oh, it's okay. I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
I did 1 because that's the only thing I could think of. So, but
oh gosh, it's been a while. Let me look at my notes here. That's a good question. I forgot to make that stand out the other day. Give me 1 second. Because yeah, you're right, because it's looking at the things below it. I'm just trying to remember if 0 works as a percentile or not. Okay, let me look at my little notebook here. Yeah, it would. Okay, it would be in the zeros. This would be in the 0th percentile.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because 75%, you're right. That's the bottom one here. There's nothing below that. There's 0 numbers below it, so you can still work that way. Now, if you divide this, if you take 0 divided by 20. Yeah, so it'll still work. Yeah, good question. So now a lot of what we're going to be looking at now is there's a way to this is going to be kind of like a trick question in a way. We can start getting some of those now with this. So if I'm going to the next page here, which is page 135, there's example 2 here. So we have 2 people who've just completed the mortgage brokerage in the BC course to become mortgage brokers. There were 175 people in the course. So if 90% of those students scored lower than Tom, what was his percentile rank? Well, I still solve it the same way, right? I still say that, hey, your PR is equal to sorry, B over N times 100. So this isn't anything new to us, right? So like how many people scored below him? 90. How many people in total? 175. So there's nothing new with this one. We still calculate this one the exact same way. 90 over 175 times 100. And then we're going to round it. So 51%. So he's in the 51st percentile, right? So easy enough. But question B is where it gets a little bit trickier. So if 50% of the students scored higher than, I think I'd say Sarjeet, and 3 people got the same score as him, what was his percentile rank? So we're seeing the difference here now, right? It tells us how many people are below versus now it's telling us this is how many people were higher. This is how many people tied with you. How do we calculate that stuff now? So the first thing we got to do here is we got to calculate how many people scored lower. We still need that number. So here's what we know. We're going to reverse engineer this. How many people were in the entire course? 175. How many people were higher than him? 50. So I'm going to take away everyone who was not lower than him. So there's 175 people in the course. 50 people were higher than him. So I'm taking that away. How many people tied with him? 3. But remember, we also look at himself. We don't count himself when we're looking at this number. So 175 minus 54, you're going to get 121. So 120 people scored lower. Okay, and this -1 is important in this. That's usually where most people slip up, is they forget that, oh, well, I didn't count the person that we're actually looking at, the data set, like the data that we're using as a reference point here. So now I'm able to solve this the same way I did before. Now I still use that percentile ranking is equal to B over N times 100. Right? So my B in this case, how many people were lower than this data set? 121. And there's a total of 175 people, all times 100. And now I solve it just like before. So it's really important. We have to read the question very carefully and just think about what am I actually trying to find right now. All that times ooh. So I'd see that he's in the wait, what did I do wrong here? 121 over 175. Oh, I divided it. That's why. Times 100. He's in the 69th percentile. Right? So 69% of people scored lower than him. So if that's the case, he clearly did fairly okay in the class, right? So I'll give you a second to make sure it's all written down. So the next part here is, how would these two people compare to each other?
It's like higher up there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So here's what we know. We know Tom was in the 51st percent. Sajid was at 69%. They're in the same course. What does that mean? Who scored better? Sajid scored better, right? We don't know by how much. There could have just been like 1 mark off on that. We don't know. We can't say how much better. We can just say that, hey, he scored a bit better. That's the only conclusion we can really make from that. How many we got here? So you got 3 more questions down below. Same thing. I'm going to give you guys about like 6 or 7 minutes for those 3 questions here. Question 4, 5, 6. Question 6. So we got outdoor sports goods, sells gloves of different sizes. Just shows the number of pairs of each side sold in last month. Oh, so in this case here, so this one is where we have lots of different data sets. If I were to write this out, I would get, be like 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. You wouldn't write it all out though, right? You're not going to write down 7.25 times, 7.5, 57 times, so on and so forth. So just like before though, what we want to do is we're still going to use that same formula. PR equals B over N. Times 100. I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to do this. B over N times 100. Now, in this case, if we're looking at the size 0.75 gloves, how many pairs of gloves are smaller than 7.5? The 35 in this case, right? 10 plus 25 gives me 35. And then I divide it by how many total gloves there are. There are, what is it? Looks like 35 plus 57 plus 32. How many else are there? Plus 21 plus 8. So 153. So this would be 35 divided by 153, all times 100 then. So I'm going to get 23. So 23rd percentile. Number B is done the same way. Now, this one here, you can never have a percentile be 100 or greater. I'll talk about the greater one first. So this is talking about like the percentage of like, if we're, let's say people, like, let's talk about, hey, we're going to look at the percentile of height. even if you're the tallest person on earth, like that's just it. You're the tallest person on earth. There's never going to be someone you can't have more than 100%. Like you just can't have higher than 100%. It's just not possible, right? Like you just can't magically have and there's like 100,000 extra people that just don't exist. Doesn't quite work out. This has also been a data set. Now, if we're looking at like why a percentile rank can never be like 100, same thing. If I was to add on, let's say I have a 10th pair here, and there's only one of those. That's going to bring me up to how many things are below this? It'd be 153 over 154. Backspace. So, the answer is, well, how come you can't have 100? I did that wrong. Over 154 times 100. So, the question is, how come you can't have 100th percentile? This one's close. It's really, really close here. You could probably get to 99.99 talking about it. But the real answer there is just that you're always looking at stuff that's less, even if you're still part of the data set. So if you're the smartest person on earth, if you're the tallest person on earth, there's no one smarter than you, there's no one taller than you, you're still excluded from that sample size. You're still not included in this part of the calculation. So you're not smarter than 100% of people, all 8 billion people on earth, because you're still a person of earth, if that makes sense. So you can get to 99.99999 percentile, but you will not get all the way up to 100th of a percentile. So we're going to try out one more here. I hope that that helped. We're going to try out one more here. Which is our third example. This is our third and final example. So in this question, it asks us, so we have someone who participated in a survey of people's wages. He learned his wage is in the 70th percentile. So that's probably good, right? He earns more money than 70% of people in his town. He also knows that there's 180 people who were surveyed. Now, the question we have is, how many people surveyed earned less than John? So what is this question missing that the other ones have usually given us?
Because it doesn't give us the...
Yeah, and it doesn't tell us how many people scored lower than him. We know his percentile, but we don't know how many people earn less than him. So we solve this with the same way. We solve this with the exact same formula still, that PR is equal to B divided by N times 100. So we still do the same thing, but the question here we're trying to find is, we want to know how many people surveyed earned less than John. We want to know what this is, because we already know what the percentile ranking is. We know it's a 70%. We know how many people in the town were surveyed. It's 180 people. So what this actually is an algebra problem here, right? I'm trying to get this B by itself, is really what I'm trying to do. If this is by itself, it's going to tell me how many people earn less than him. So I got to solve it that way. So I'm looking at what the B is attached to, right? I can see my B is on the top of a fraction, which is good, but it's still attached to this fraction. So we always work from the outside in when we're working with algebra. So I need to get rid of the most outside thing, which is this 100. So I got to do the opposite. I got to divide both sides here by 100. These cancel out, but it carries on this left side. So 70 divided by 100 is 0.7 or like 7 over 10 or whatever it is. It's all the same stuff. Equals B over 180. And again, this times 100 and this divided by 100. Technically, there's still this times 1 here, right? We're lazy. We don't do that. We just say they cancel each other out. So the next part here is, well, I need to get rid of the 180 now, right? And what's it doing to the B? It's dividing. So what's the opposite of dividing by 180? It is times in by 180. So 0.7 times 180. On this left side is going to give me 126. And then I can see that, well, these are going to cancel out, and you're technically going to get B divided by 1 here, right? Which is the exact same thing as just B. So 126 equals B. And what's B? B is how many people were scored lower than him, right? So 126 people earn less than, what was his name? John? John. So this is an algebra question. So the next question here is, well, how many people earn more than him? So question B, I'll just scroll up for a second, asks, how many people earn more than Joe? Well, how could I figure that out?
Total 180.
Yeah, so that we know the total is 180. And then what?
Then you would do 26 less.
I know there's 126 people who earn less than him. Yep.
Then do one for John, I think.
Yeah, and John himself, right? That's the easiest thing to miss here. So I'm also taking away that John makes less than people who make more than him. And if I do that, I should get 53 here. Now, your first go-to here might be, oh, it's 53 over 180. Or, sorry, you wouldn't even need to do that. Your first go here might be, okay, 53 people earn more than him, which is probable, but not guaranteed. What if someone makes the same amount as him? Now it's 52. What if 10 people make the same amount as him? Now it's 43. So 53 people make as much or more than John. We don't know that it's for sure more than him. If someone has the same salary, it's 52. If 2 people have the same salary, now it's 51 people make more than him. So we can't make conclusive statements like that. We're probably right, or we're really close, but it's not guaranteed. Okay. Let me do this in blue. So what's happening here for us is, so that's it. That's all the stuff. There's no more to learn about this for now. So what you do is you get time to finish the booklet, and there is a there's a chapter test down here as well, which would be a really good reminder for you. So there is the booklets to finish up. There was that assignment that was given out on Friday, so you have time to be able to finish that. And I think we're going to have a concept check at the end of Tuesday. I might move it to the start of Wednesday, but I'm trying to keep it to, because I want to get as much next unit done as possible here. So I'm going to try and get it done here. We're going to try and do that after our break on Tuesday, so which is tomorrow. So we'll try and do a concept check for that. There's a small chance it will get moved to the start of Wednesday, though. So just be wary of that. But this is time to practice this stuff, cement that skill, ask for help if you need it, work on the assignment. This is due on Friday, if you remember. So that's not due till Friday. So the hope is we're finished this unit tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll have all day to work on this. We'll just go straight into, yep, time to work. Then we'll have the concept check. And then I'm hoping we can maybe finish up another unit or get as close as humanly possible, because you guys are going to be off for a week and we don't want to come back to something like that we haven't looked at for a week and a half at that point.